I met Kaia so many years ago when I had first started out as a yoga teacher. And she was a firecracker and an inspiration and a delight in my life at that point. And since then, some of you know her journey, that she has had an awakening experience, but still really keeps the heart of what we cherish the most in any given individual: an approachability, a comfortability, a groundedness that is just a joy to witness. So, Kaia, thank you so much for being here with us tonight.
Oh my gosh, it is such my pleasure to be here, David. And honestly, uh, it's so touching. I think I met you 18 years ago, and I'll never forget. I think your class might have been the first yoga class I ever took, and I think it was actually. And I remember that was a turning point in my life, and I studied with you for at least 3 years. And I mean, like, regularly. I remember coming to your class like 5 days a week. That was where I was going to be after work, was David's yoga class. And it was at a time in my life where I was really afraid of who I was and the gifts that I had. And I just watched everything you did. I watched how you walked with confidence. I watched the creativity that you taught with. I watched how you changed the lives of so many students in such a short amount of time, and how much they always wanted to show up to your class in particular. And so it's just such a joy for me to be finally on, sharing a platform with you in this moment. You were so pivotal in the beginning of my spiritual reconciliation with myself. It was back bay yoga that I actually started my private practice, which then led to my public ministry. And I didn't know that you were at that time. It's so great to find that out, that was a moment for you. That was the beginning of your teaching journey. And to know that now, I mean, you were so exceptional. I thought you'd been teaching for years. And, I know that you've been such a huge part of changing the landscape of how people approach yoga at this point. And so I want to thank you from every part of my heart for your incredible lifetime of ministry through yoga. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I guess we should begin. What do you think? All right, amazing. And I want to extend a warm welcome to everyone who's listening in live right now and on the replay, that is unfamiliar with my work and new to the Sophia Code, new to what I teach and channel. And I want to extend a very heartfelt welcome to everyone on who's a part of our mystery school and who's been helping to activate humanity's consciousness alongside me over the past 4 years in the Sophia Code International Movement and Ministry. So just sending out the warmest welcome to everyone today. So I think the best place for us to start is just to really unify our field, the resonance of our consciousness, our collective consciousness, taking a moment to meditate together and to set our intention for the journey we're about to embark on over the next few hours. This is a really special opportunity that we get to be together, and we tend to get the most out of anything in life when we set our intention at the very beginning of embarking on any experience. So let's feel free to close your eyes. You don't have to close your eyes, but if you'd like, it's going to direct you back to the very source of everything that you need in this reality and in all the realities beyond this reality. So let's take 3 deep breaths that are just going to soften us into the truth of our bodies. And notice where your awareness may be abiding within the truth of your body. Do you feel your awareness maybe behind your shoulders or in your shoulders? Is it behind your eyes? As you keep breathing in and out, just being curious. There's no right or wrong place to be within the truth of your reality, but as facilitators of sacred space, as leaders, teachers, healers, and guides, there are several locations within the truth of your human body that you can get the most power out of your service and the greatest offering from that space. So let's take 3 more breaths. And I invite your awareness to start to drop into the center of your heart. The center of your heart is actually a portal to access everything you need in this reality, and also to draw forth the heavenly energies, the spiritual life force of the other realms of our universe into your human body, into your classes, into your sacred spaces. Just noticing if your consciousness would like to be within your heart. Being curious if that already might bring up some resistance. Well, I like to hang out in my head. I don't want to be in my heart. It feels safer in my head. That's okay. And what would it feel like if you were in this moment in an emotionally safe space that was safe enough to breathe even just one breath within your heart? Feeling that rise and fall of your chest. And really getting behind that rise and fall, really getting inside of it. There's an entire cosmos, there's an entire universe within that heart chakra, within your lungs, within the very organ of your heart. These are all temple spaces within the body. The ancient yogi sages and the ancient yogi Christ masters, also known as Buddha masters, they knew about these temples within the body, and they called them chakras. Breathing into that beautiful chakra, the very center of your existence. And just noticing if there's any mental thoughts or distractions that would want to have you pop back and forth between anxieties or fears and the truth of this silence, the truth of this love, the presence of love that you're tuning in here. It's so interesting how both can exist simultaneously. As you breathe, you may start to feel, as you breathe into your heart, that there's a willingness to ground just a little bit more into the lower half of your physical body. Very often, spiritually minded people tend to inhabit, at best, from their hearts all the way up to their throat and their third eye and their crown chakra temples. But there has never been a more pivotal time on the planet to embody your root chakra, your sacral chakra, and your solar plexus chakra temple. As leaders, teachers, healers, and guides for this generation, you must be an embodied practitioner of your offering. Embodied means your whole body. It does not mean half of your body. It does not mean outside of your body, trying to escape your body. It means from the top of your head all the way down to your 10 beautiful toes, or however many toes you have, all the way down into the fullness of your feet. And even connecting all the way from your feet to the very center of the earth, because there is a heart at the center of this planet, and her heart and your heart can co-create miracles in this lifetime, both for yourself and others. So I invite your breath to start to create a deep, grounded connection to the heart of the earth. You might visualize this as a column of light that runs from wherever you're seated all the way through the crust of the earth, through the floorboards of wherever you're sitting, through the pavement, the concrete, the crust of the earth, and then traveling at the speed of light, feeling the orgasmic, blissful connection that immediately happens when you come in contact with your heart to the heart of Mother Earth. Many spiritually minded people are very concerned about the future of this planet's health and well-being, and rightly so. We face multiple global crises at this time in our environment. And yet, with that said, when you breathe into the heart of Mother Earth, you really come into a communion and understanding with just how radically powerful she is, how much she's got you. She's got your back. She is the very ground of your foundation in this reality. In fact, everything that you're experiencing this reality through, every atom, every molecule, every physical element of your body comes from her body. Everybody talks about Tantra as something to achieve or aspire to. You are literally in a tantric state of communion 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, because you exist within a human body that exists within her body. The glory of that, the mystery of that, breathing into it, the support of that. You're not alone in your leadership. You're not alone in your desire to reach out and touch the hearts of others. It's her desire too that comes with your bodysuit, with the gift of your human body. It comes with her desire as well to co-create community, to facilitate sacred spaces for spiritual awakening to happen. That's what she's doing. Her entire planet is a sacred space for spiritual awakening to happen. Breathing in and exhaling out the stress, the anxiety, the fear that spirituality is something to attain. There's nothing to attain in the journey of enlightenment. We are all choosing one day at a time to sweetly, tenderly wake up into a lucid dream from the nightmare that we have ever been separated from God. Whatever you call God, source, consciousness, Buddha, if you call it Christ consciousness, that energy, that presence of divine love that created this universe, that created this planet, that created your soul, that created your body, that miraculous presence that loves you unconditionally and knows you, everything about you, it is impossible for you to exist outside of it. And yet humanity has believed in this collective nightmare that somehow we could be separated from that which we are literally existing within. And as you breathe into your heart, what happens is within this chakra temple, you are returning to the ever-present communion. You are returning your human awareness to the ever-present communion that is always happening, whether you are turning your awareness to it or not, whether you are pivoting your thoughts and your consciousness to that communion between you and the earth, you and your body, you and your source. Whether you are there consciously or not, it is a tantric communion. It is a just plain old communion that is happening all of the time, supporting you in all of your feelings, which we have a full spectrum of feelings, supporting you in all of your learning experiences, both the painful ones and the blissful ones, as well as the seemingly mundane ones, which are actually all miracles when you start to look at reality from this perspective. This communion is what is inspiring you to create a sacred space for others to come into a greater conscious awareness of what they are seeking to remember in themselves about their own innate communion that is never, ever, ever, ever ceasing, not even for 1 second. Even if they're freaking out and full of fear, they are still in communion with their source, with their planet, with their body. It might be a dramatic one, but they're still in a communion. And so in this beautiful connection and communion with your heart space, I invite you to bring your hands to your heart. And to really take this opportunity, and you can say this out loud because everyone is on mute, so it's okay for you to say this out loud. And you can even look down at your heart, or you could you tilt your head forward and keep your eyes closed if that's helpful. And you can, if you'd like, repeat this prayer that we're going to say before we set our intention. A prayer is the same thing as to say an affirmation, right? An invocation. And it goes a little something like this. And you're welcome to repeat these words after me. I am so grateful for you, heart. I love you so much, heart of mine. I so deeply appreciate this opportunity to listen to you more closely today at this time. I know how much I want to lead because you are that driving force and passion within me that is asking me to lead. I feel you pull on me, magnetizing me to teach, to guide others, to reveal you to others. I have to admit, heart, sometimes I'm afraid of being seen as a teacher. I have to admit, heart of mine, sometimes I feel really anxious about the people you want me to meet. I got to be really honest with you, heart. Sometimes you want me to say things to people that scare the crap out of me. But I know, heart, that you always know exactly what to say in every present moment if I just listen to you. So, dearest heart of mine, dear, dear, dear heart of mine, thank you so much for being my guide as I guide others. Dearest, dearest heart of mine, thank you so much for what you have survived in this lifetime. Because now I have medicine to offer others. Medicine from you, from your compassion. Dearest, dearest heart of mine, thank you that because you are the source of my communion with all that is, you are also the source of teachings from beyond this world that feed the heart of the people. You're my connection to heaven, and you, heart of mine, are teaching me how to embody heavenly consciousness on earth within my human body. Dearest heart of mine, I know if I stay humble to where you are guiding me next, that I can walk responsibly with great power. I now set my intention to open up and receive from you over the course of these next few hours exactly what you would have me learn today for my own personal growth, expansion, and empowerment. I'm going to invite you to spend another minute here with your heart, listening to what your heart may want to share with you in words or feelings or memories. And to simply be curious. And if you don't feel, see, or hear anything at all, it's absolutely okay. Perhaps continue the conscious presencing of breathing into your heart beyond expectations. Thank you for taking the opportunity to set your intention for our journey today. Thank you for choosing to become fully present within this beautiful temple, within your own heart chakra. And I invite you to notice throughout the course of our time together if thoughts or anxieties begin to arise or fears. Notice where your awareness goes to. Is it above your shoulders? Is it outside of your body? And perhaps practice what it would feel like to pivot, even with the fears or anxieties that may come up around teaching or leading others. What does it feel like to pivot back to the center of your heart through the breath? Because here's the thing. When you teach and when you guide others, if you set your intention before you begin your class, that you have the power to pivot back to your heart, regardless of the insecurities or the great unknown that arises as you open the door to guiding others through a yoga practice or a sacred space, you will remember to return back to your heart. You will remember that leading others isn't about you. You will remember that it's leading others is the remembrance that you are here to master your fears by loving your heart through the fears, by staying present within your heart and choosing to show up to how you are guiding and leading others through their fears and their anxieties. Leading, teaching, and guiding others is the opportunity for us to step into our highest potential and how we choose to unconditionally love ourselves while we are unconditionally loving others. We're learning how to be grown-ups, spiritually mature grown-ups when we step into a position of teaching. We're saying to the universe, I understand that my spiritual journey is not just about me. I understand that all of the gifts and the talents and the intelligence and the creativity that has been bestowed to me and within me is not just a gift from myself, but it is a gift for others. Very often, our greatest fears about leading, teaching, and guiding others has to do with performance anxiety, self-esteem, perhaps even traumatic wounding from our past, where we are concerned if we don't perform at a certain level of perfectionistic behavior, that we will become unloved, rejected, or shamed for what we are offering others. What's so interesting about that is that if we are leading from a truly sovereign and interdependent place versus a codependent space, which is not leadership at all, when we approach our leadership from that context, we are offering ourselves the greatest healing medicine for our own journey of healing from that trauma and healing from the insecurities. We are learning in real time in front of others how to pivot back to the truth of our divine worth. In the Sophia Code, which is a sacred text that I channeled directly from a High Council of Ascended Masters, what we are taught again and again is the absolute and complete and total whole truth of our shared and equal sovereign divinity. Yoga in particular is one of the most ancient pathways of awakening to the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth of your sovereign divinity. It's a pathway that invites us to that truth first through our bodies. It's why yoga is such a powerful gateway for full-blown spiritual awakening. Now, does someone experience a full-blown spiritual awakening in their first yoga class? Depending on their previous lifetimes, that could happen. But what's so special about committing to a path of yoga is that it's a journey. It really teaches human awareness, which is yet only one facet of your consciousness, but it's the facet of consciousness that we are most engaged with in our daily tasks. It teaches your human awareness and it teaches your students human awareness. The life is a journey, it's not a destination. That there is no end goal to achieve. There is the presence within every pose, every asana, every breath that is teaching us how to be fully present to the full spectrum of our feelings, how to be fully present to the full spectrum of our passions and desires, how to be fully present to the full spectrum of our disappointments, how to be fully present to the full spectrum of our traumas, as well as the full spectrum of our wholeness. When somebody meets you on the mat, what they are saying is, I am bravely choosing to dip my toe into this universe, to God's reality, both in the form and formless. And most of them have no idea that that's what's happening in that moment. But that is what is happening nonetheless. When somebody rolls out a yoga mat, or somebody shows up to your meditation space, or somebody shows up to a coaching or a healing session with you, what they are saying is, I'm choosing to courageously become present to a cosmos within me that is so overwhelming that I can barely comprehend a moment of it in my daily life, but I'm willing to try. I'm willing to expand my bandwidth just a little bit longer today to see how much more I can become present to and not overwhelmed by. What does that teach us over time, over many yoga classes, over many times on our meditation seat? It teaches us the parallel, that there is nothing different between the ceremony of yoga and the ceremony of our daily life. We learn a perseverance when we are in a pigeon pose long enough and maybe one of your hip sockets is just screaming at you. You learn how to be with how much your mother may frustrate you, or you may learn how to be with how much, you feel like you're failing at something in your job and you have to find the solution within you. You discover a tenacity, a presence, and an unconditional love for all the parts within you that feel very unlovable. At this time, humanity has been so broken and toxified and traumatized and perpetrated against that we have billions of souls on this planet that are ironically at a breaking point. What's interesting about when most people arrive to a yoga practice, they've come to a breaking point in their consciousness where what their human awareness can access is no longer enough for them to survive their daily life. So that's what's also really interesting about a yoga practice or any sacred space that you're facilitating where people are continuing to show up to a practice of becoming more conscious. They're usually showing up from a space that there's something within them that they can no longer handle based on how they've been functioning or operating in their consciousness before they showed up to the mat. So that's another thing that when your students arrive to that sacred space, that they're arriving with. They're arriving with a frustration in how they've been operating in their reality before creating a daily practice, before creating a spiritual practice, a yoga practice. They're curious about how that practice is actually going to be effective and how they can deal with, how they can create a deeper intimacy or intimacy at all in their partnerships, in their family relationships, at work, a greater presence. And so when these souls walk through your door, it's going to be really important for you to remember to be fully in your body, fully present, ready and invoked, to be that consciously aware and awakened embodiment that you know for yourself through your own journey with yoga, through your own journey with whatever spiritual practices you're offering in that sacred space. You believe in it. You believe in it and you believe that it can work for them because you know it works for you. So one of the things that I teach in my mystery school is like, you can't expect anyone to believe what you're teaching if you are not practicing it yourself. Does that mean you have to be perfect at, wheel pose or, whatever pose is the most difficult in your physical reality? It's like, no. But you do have to be practicing it. You do have to be in the practice of presence to what you are offering others. I like to say it's not about being perfect. It's about being perfectly you. You inside your daily walk. We call it walking the way. That is the pathway of choosing that you're going to expand into a higher consciousness on a regular daily basis, and that you're going to learn how to integrate that higher consciousness within your human awareness. So when those individuals walk through that door, whether they just lost $50,000 on the stock market, whether their wife freaked out on them, or they were late picking up their kid from school and there was, and dinner's not ready, when they show up to that mat, you are an embodiment of the consciousness that you hope that they can touch into for that 30 minutes, 45 minutes, an hour on the mat. When you choose to show up in that way to lead others, when you set the intention, when you make the invocation, no matter what I'm feeling that day, no matter what's going on with my own partnerships or at work, I'm still going to show up to how I'm teaching that day and embody that it's actually possible to include a heightened level of consciousness within this human awareness because of this yoga practice. This is what it brings to me. So as soon as they walk in the room, I like to say, you are the bar. You're going to set the bar for where consciousness is going, not just in your mental thoughts about what your intention is and that you verbally set for the students walking in the room, but also in the consciousness that you're willing to embody in that moment. Now, in our mystery school, we have many, many curriculums where we teach how to embody greater and greater, higher and higher levels of consciousness, and how to function in physical reality, embodying that level of what we call your higher self's sovereign divinity. And how the Sophia Code, which is the sacred text that I wrote, it has these initiations that actually initiate you to flip on the switches of spiritual technology within your very body, not just the chakra temples, but also the divine genome. that allows for you to anchor the sovereign divine consciousness of what we call your higher self within your physical form. This takes practice to embody over time, because heightened states of consciousness not only teach you how to operate in new ways, how to function in a heightened state of consciousness with others, but it's also going to simultaneously start to release your controlling, defensive coping strategies that we all learn in childhood to get what we want. There's a lot of different terms in psychology that can describe that, but they're a mask that we wear, that we use to codependently interface with others based on coping strategies that we learned from different circumstances in our early life, that we can operate from, or we can choose to operate from the higher consciousness that we invoke in this communion with our divinity, both within us and all around us. Wherever you choose to pivot your awareness into either that consciousness or the insecurities, that's going to set the bar for the entire experience that you're going to walk through with your students over that next 30 minutes, 40 minutes, hour to 2 hours. Now, if you have students walking into the room that do not want to grow or evolve, they're going to feel the energetic resonance of that bar that you've set in the room. And that field is going to be so strong because the energetic resonance is so powerful that it creates a quantum field of consciousness that they will literally bounce right out of. They'll just be like, I can't handle this, man. I'm out of here. I don't care if I paid $20 for a yoga class. Peace. And they're out. They're just like, I don't want to hear namaste. This is bullshit. I'm out, right? And because they're just not ready. They're just not ready to step into such a radically transformative space. So the question is, if you hold the bar that high, are you going to lower when, Susie ain't so sunshine that day? Or are you going to keep the bar high and bless Susie, who's far from her sunshine that day as she's walking out the door? My prayer for you is that you're going to bless her and you're going to keep teaching here. Now, that's a pretty extreme example. But here's the thing. When you hold the bar this high in consciousness, you're saying, I am choosing to not give in to any codependent or manipulative unconscious behavior that people can walk into a room with. What's going to happen is this divine consciousness within you is also going to teach you how to pivot and serve them and invite them to raise their consciousness higher to meet you at this bar. It's going to teach you how to pivot and maneuver, very much like a loving chess game, where you can help bring their consciousness higher. But if they are completely unwilling, again, they're going to bounce. So if you have somebody that comes to your class and you're holding the bar this high, and after 6 weeks, they're like, man, I can't handle it. They're asking too much of me. I don't think I believe in myself that much. They'll bounce for a couple of weeks, maybe a couple months. But if they're willing to grow, they will be back. They will be back because the bar that you're raising for them is one that they have now, the consciousness of that bar being that high is now planted within their awareness, in the back of their unconscious. And the seeds that are planted is, oh, I know where to go. Once I integrate how I stayed at this bar for 6 weeks, which is going to take me about 3 to 6 months of integration, I'm going to go back to his class and I'm going to pick up where I left off once I integrate how far I came just from 6 weeks. So you need to understand, as a facilitator of sacred space, the codependency will make you fret and feel anxious if you are, quote unquote, losing your clients or their students, or they're going someplace else. But what if you're holding the bar in such a way that they have to keep traveling back and forth to integrate how much consciousness you're offering them, so that they learn how to integrate and actually expand their bandwidth to stay in the field of consciousness with you long enough here? That's teaching people how to fish, not just handing them a fish. guiding people how to embody a high level of consciousness over time is the greatest gift you can offer anyone. Yoga is such an exceptional way to begin that conversation with anyone. I don't care if they're the most spiritually inclined person you ever met, or somebody that's just like, man, I've been watching football my whole life and doing yoga seems insane to me. It's just like, because I love football, I love working out, but I don't want to have anything to do with that wooey spirit, that wooey yoga thing. It's just like, times are changing. When I walked into David's class close to 20 years ago, yoga was the wooiest thing you could do. And you don't tell people at your corporate office that you just went to a yoga class. You just keep that to yourself, but like now it's like, oh, yoga is a dinner table conversation in a good part of our country and around the world. It's very accepted. It's by far one of the most accepted pathways of dipping your toe into a spiritual awakening that we have right now. And the good news is that yoga is so ancient. It's been around for thousands of years. It's the best, also the absolute best path that people could start to dip their toe in if they're going to a truly authentic teacher and a truly authentic practice. Even if they're not going to a really authentic space, the brilliance of yoga is that it's going to get them on a path to an authentic teacher or to an authentic space. That's what's so interesting about yoga. No matter how bubblegum somebody's class might be, eventually they're going to go looking for the real heavenly feast down the street. They're going to find a way if they they figure it out. Oh man, this is not just about me getting in down dog. Something happens to me when I'm in down dog. Light switches go on when I'm in down dog. And it's not just how weird I feel with my butt in the air. Like I'm connecting with something inside of me that makes me feel a little uncomfortable, but also very curious. So what's so interesting about this process of when you're teaching yoga, the ancients understood. Well, let's talk about this a little bit. And I'm sure David has shared in his teacher training as well about the ancient origins of yoga. But let's go way back and understand that thousands, and I mean like thousands of years ago, even beyond what we know about written history, because guess what? History is in the hands of those who write history. All right. So our history about what's happened on this planet and who we are as a human species has been written 10,000 times over to suit the purposes of whoever's been in power, whatever empire's been in power on this planet across space and time. It's just like our history is far longer on this planet than most of it, than what we're taught in school. Clearly, many people on this call know that. So the history of yoga goes back thousands of years, and yoga arose, interestingly enough, it was like this co-created process of meditation and movement, where people were experiencing so much awakening through the sitting practice of meditation that they found that it started to spontaneously awaken this latent energy that's often referred to as the Kundalini life force at the base of your spine. Now, when this energy is awakened, your body starts to spontaneously move. And I mean like spontaneous. Like you could wake up in the middle of the night and all of a sudden you're in down dog on your bed. And you're like, I don't even know how I got in this position. Like it is, you can have dreams about doing yoga or the movements of yoga. And you wake up and you're like, I think I just did a class. Will that count? Do I still have to show up at 6? It's just like, it doesn't count. You should still show up at 6. But but what happens is this energy is a primordial life force energy, and it is a creative genius, divine intelligence that exists within you, and it's been given to everyone equally. What happened is that the ancient masters lit up this energy, discovered this energy through different forms of practices and meditations, and then they would watch the Kundalini life force move the human body into different positions. And they realized that these different positions could be recorded as asanas, as postures of awakening. That if you held these positions for certain periods of time, it would support and expand the awakening of that Kundalini energy to integrate within the human body. And what they also realized was that not only was it changing the body, it was changing the mind. It was changing the emotional, it was changing how the people involved with these yoga practices, it was changing how they were relating with life and with each other. And eventually, all of this exploration was chronicled into a science. All of the data was brought together, the spiritual aspects, the emotional aspects, the psychic activations that happen when this energy is coursing through your body, which, by the way, I just released my psychic development training. It's not about just the third eye, please. What yoga is waking up in your body is every single chakra of your body is a temple that can receive information, both from the Kundalini network within you, but also from all of reality. And of course, and most definitely, and most hopefully, your higher self, your direct communion with the divine. Your whole body is rigged to receive information constantly. You are a supercomputer. We talk about this endlessly in the Sophia code. You are literally walking spiritual technology. Your human body is a supercomputer with all of these chakra temples, and they're all psychic. It's not just your third eye. It's not just your crown chakra. That's what scares the bejesus out of people. Everything about you is psychic. Everything about you is intuitive. Everything about you is connected to God. Everything about you is meant to be awakened and lit up. It's not just like your third eye. So, it's it's just important to understand that this is what yoga, and this is what the ancients, that they would spend, countless hours studying. Oh my God. This is what the root chakra is drawing to me. Wow. Awesome. Okay. Wow. This is what happens when I open up this aspect of my sacral chakra. This is what I'm learning about. This is what I'm magnetizing to me. This is how I want to move my body. This is how it allows my throat chakra to speak in a different way. Whoa, look at these cool meridians. Damn, that information is just traveling through my body like a super highway of light. You're so exciting. Did you have any idea how exciting you were? And that's what's happening when people come to their mat. They're tapping into this incredible ancient lineage that has spanned back thousands of years, and they're dipping their toe into what these ancient ones have preserved for us across thousands of years. So this is another thing that you can take refuge in, that you can take sanctuary in and have joy in when you teach a yoga class. When you open those doors, 20, 30, 50 people, hopefully hundreds someday walk through your doors and you're teaching yoga. You're standing with the masters. You are standing with the ancient ones that have preserved these lineages for thousands of years. You are not standing alone. And you are supported, and they want to help deepen you and that presencing with your heart, your connection to that higher source of information, energy, and intention. And that consciousness is what wants to divinely direct your yoga class. I don't care if you're teaching basic 101 yoga. There is a divinely orchestrated highest potential for 101 yoga to go off at 6 p.m. There's a lot of different quantum potentials because we live in a quantum field. So there could be the crappiest class you ever facilitated. It could be the most incredible, like off the charts class you have. All of those potentials exist in the same quantum field simultaneously, and everything in between. But there's the presence of your higher self. There's the presence of your divinity that these ancient masters knew about. And they would watch endlessly how that divinity could course through your mind, anchor in your heart, to divinely direct the most beneficial class for everyone in that room simultaneously that you can facilitate that day, morning, or night. And guess what? It's beyond your understanding. It is beyond your localized human understanding, which is going to want to be codependent and weird and performance perfectionistic based. It's going to be like, was I good enough? Did I do a good enough job? Did I get all the asanas in? Is, yogi so-and-so looking down on me and blessing me for this yoga class? Am I the best? Blah, 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 blah. A little bit of throw up in your mouth, because we all been there. We all know what it's like to kind of crucify ourselves whether or not it was good enough. And it's just like, okay, are we going to judge ourselves that we get a little bit or sometimes a whole lot like that? Oh, only 15 people showed up to my class tonight. I suck. It's just like, are we going to do that? Or are we going to be like, wow, tonight God decided that I was going to deeply serve 15 souls with every cell of my body, with the Buddha light, the Holy Spirit, Christ consciousness pouring through me. Lucky me, lucky them. Whoa. It's just like you could choose one perspective or the other. And as a yoga teacher, I want you to know that's always going to be my prayer for you, to be that bar here. I'm always going to be praying for you, for that bar to be here for you in your own heart. But I also want you to know I'm also praying for you when you are having the like, was I good enough? I suck moments, because those are real. And that, my friends, is what yoga is for too. It's to learn how to become very compassionate for the hearts within us that we're told we weren't good enough when we were 4 years old, that we're told that we didn't perform or excel enough when we didn't get straight A's. Or worse, way worse than that. God only knows what could have happened in your home life. I know what happened in mine. And so your yoga practice is also for the one within you that has survived your relationship with life and is praying a prayer to thrive in your relationship with life. And so when you are holding the bar in this way for others, choosing to pivot your awareness that there's a higher power that wants to direct the course of this yoga class, I want you to remember that higher power is there for you too. That presence of unconditional divine love, that creative genius, is healing you as you are healing others by offering this sacred space of yoga for them to have their spiritual awakening. That's what's happening. You're getting the blessing first. You're getting the healing first. You're getting the, oh shit, aha, oh my God, I'm so blessed moments first. That's a secret about leadership. I teach about this in my Stargate 2 curriculum for Divine Feminine Christ Leadership. It's just like, we serve, we lead, we teach, we guide, because we so desperately need the blessing first. Those who show up to be of great service to others, that energy, that light, that love must pour through you first, as it is then streaming out into the room. It's what's creating that field of consciousness for others to walk into. Which brings me to another important point. Why would anyone come to learn yoga from you? This is very important. I teach about this in my mystery school. Is it because there is a yoga schedule at the studio and your name is on it and they're going to pay $25 or whatever to show up, and that's just what fits in their schedule? Not really, because I've been to classes where I show up like that and I will leave if I'm like, this is not my thing. People are showing up to your class. I want you to imagine your self as a container, like a vessel, like a chalice or a glass, right? I want you to think about yourself like this, a glass. See all that water in there? So good. We love water. That could be like your soul or your spirit inside the glass. So this is a container that's holding in your spirit. People are coming to your yoga class because they want to sit in the field and resonance of your consciousness. You should write that down. People want to come to your yoga class or any other sacred space that you are facilitating because that sacred space is facilitated within the container of your consciousness. Your consciousness is a container. Now, granted, your soul is eternal and goes into every direction simultaneously. So I know that's a bit of a wide container. But your human body, your human vessel, your personality, it's a container. It's a container for your soul's light and your intelligence, as well as your communion with source intelligence to pour through you. So the more you cultivate, love, and accept yourself as a container of consciousness that people like to come and hang out in. It's like when they go to the beach and they want to sit in the sun. You're the sun. You're the sunlight that they want to soak in. Now, if you are teaching and facilitating sacred space through your direct connection to source, guess what? It's not just your sun anymore that they are basking in. They are now basking in the sunlight of source that you are communing with in their presence. That source light is wildly magnetic. And if you allow that source light to guide your thoughts, to guide your tongue, to guide how you prepare the sacred space, how you facilitate that yoga practice or any other practice that you're offering for awakening to happen, they're basking in that consciousness. That's why they're showing up. It's not if you can, we all know that person in the yoga classroom that can like do yoga on their tiptoes or something, and they're like busting muscles out in every direction. You're like, oh my God, I never, ever, I don't think I'll ever be that person. I don't know if I'll ever get in that asana that way. I could practice for 50 years. I'm not going to be that person. You don't have to be that person. You have to be your consciousness. If you're in your practice to continue to learn about yourself through the pose that Mr. Musclehead can do like nobody's business, it doesn't matter. You're going to be inside the truth of that pose for you. See, this is the consciousness people are coming to you for. It's not if you're perfect. They're coming to abide in a consciousness that's willing. You have a willing consciousness if you're showing up to teach. The more willing you are to creatively examine your own heart, the more willing you are to creatively be curious about why your yoga practice is important to you, the more willing you are to be curious about what does happen to your body in that pose that someone else can do so easy, but you can't. The more people are going to want to come and sit in meditation with you, the more people are going to want to come and move their bodies with you, which is a gateway to move into the greater depths of their soul's consciousness with you. A very natural progression from teaching the physical asanas of yoga is to eventually move into supporting and guiding others in the yoga of their consciousness. Because these yoga asanas are designed to interface your localized human awareness with the mechanics and the metaphysical mechanics and the spiritual mechanics of your body, what happens over time is that mechanical physical practice becomes integrated in how you are relating with your feelings, how you are relating with your creativity, how you are relating with your challenges of your life, how you are relating with the pain and the wounds of your heart. You realize that every asana you've ever spent even half a second in was all to learn how to be in a better relationship with life, how to become far more conscious in your relationship with life as the ceremony, as the miracle, as the gift that was given to you. If you are bored, it means you are not present, because life is happening and it is a quantum miracle. Your body is a quantum miracle in motion. The opportunity to step into and teach a yoga class with other willing souls that want to hang out in your quantum field and the resonance of wherever you're abiding in, so you can get a biofeedback about where you're really at in your personal development. Woo! Golden ticket. You're just about the luckiest person to ever live. And if you're bored or feeling ungrateful, you better get down on your hands and knees and start asking God to help you get more present. to the love that is blessing you beyond your understanding. Every single person on this call, we are blessed. You are blessed enough to have the financial resources to even consider having this conversation. You're blessed. Like, be grateful, because gratitude amplifies and expands your ability to have even more blessings within your life, which means you get to be even more of a blessing to others, which is the whole point. So I want to come back to these masters, these masters of yoga. You know, it's really exciting that spirituality has become so popular. But there's just a lot of bubblegum, like spiritual infancy also happening on a pretty prevalent level in the US and really around the world. I've actually found that a lot of our international students in my mystery school and a lot of my international travel, it's amazing, like the different varying levels of spiritual maturity that I encounter and that I pray for, especially here in the US. Spiritual maturity, when we are going to spirituality, and this is important for you to understand as a facilitator and a teacher and a leader and a guide of sacred space, there is what your prayer is to guide your students, your initiates, whatever you call it, the people that are coming to you for the healing, for the teaching, for the growth. Your prayer is to guide them from spiritual infancy to walking them over the bridge to spiritual maturity. This is what the yogi masters did. They invested, and it's also what that whole guru model is, which, by the way, I do not teach a guru model at all. I teach that we are all sovereign and equal, and that we are all each other's teachers, healers, leaders, and guides. That's how this particular platform teaches. But if we are going to go back across and look at the ancient yogi model, it was the guru model was very much integrated into the history of yoga. Here's the reason why. If somebody was an authentic guru in ancient times, they took that role very, very seriously. So seriously that they would take on the karma of their students to help transmute just how much spiritual immaturity was happening for their students. They were creating divine interventions of grace where they're like, yo, you got about 35,000 years of really shitty karma. It looks like you're showing up. You really want to be in a good way in this lifetime. Yeah, I'm doing the guru thing. I got your back. You're going to be in my practice for like 20, 30 years. Follow my teachings. Here, no problem. I'll take care of about 5,000 years of that. And there's India's history is as well as other Asian countries that have ancient yogic practices. It is full of stories and accounts of those interventions. That was another model for another time. It was the age of Pisces. That doesn't mean there's anything wrong with that. Good, bad, or indifferent. It was one model that worked for humanity's collective consciousness at that time. Why? Well, humanity's been the dark ages for a really long time. And, humanity has been programmed for so long that its divinity is outside of itself. So where we are, making a strong, very powerful turn in our consciousness collectively with the age of Aquarius, is we as teachers, healers, leaders, and guides, our prayer is not to have our students become dependent upon us in some guru model. Our journey is to empower our students to discover the master within them. Our journey as teachers, leaders, and guides is to inspire them to a self-mastery practice that they want to show up to, whether they're on their yoga mat in your classroom or not. That they show up to themselves because you have inspired them in such a way that they understand that their self-mastery leads to their greatest potential. And their greatest potential leads to a happiness that is unconditional. It's not based on the outer world. Ironically, when their happiness is no longer based on the outer world, they're manifesting like nobody's business. And their outer world starts to look a whole lot better than it did before they started mastering their practices which move them from spiritual infancy across the bridge to spiritual maturity. Look, spiritual infant students are going to show up to your class, and here's what they're going to be like. They're going to be like, fix me. I'm broken. I don't want to do the work. Make me move my body. Make me meditate. Fix me. It's too hard for me. They're in a victim mindset. Now, if they're showing up to a mat, though, even with that attitude, and if they show up long enough, what's happening is you are embodying a role model position that if they stay on their mat with consistency, or their meditation practice, or whatever sacred practices that you are teaching them as a form of self-mastery and personal discipline, what you are embodying for them is that one day they will discover a maturity, a spiritual maturity within them that is going to be regenerative, that is going to continue to inspire them. You're great, but you're not needed anymore. And if you are practicing codependent leadership, that's going to be a problem for you. If you're practicing sovereign leadership, that's going to be awesome for you. Because you know when those people show up and keep showing up, they're going to be showing up to play the game full on out. It's going to be rock and roll from the moment they show up. They're going to be like, push me harder because I'm going to push you harder because we're going to go together. We're going to go to the stars together. It's just like when you inspire sovereignty, self-mastery, direct communion with their own source through every yoga asana, through every meditation practice, when you bring it, those who are ready to bring it alongside you will stay and they will continue to show up. So you don't have to worry about whether people are paying for your classes or signing up for your courses, because if you are bringing it and you are inviting them to their own sovereign self-mastery on the mat and in their life, you will keep filling up your classes. Your bank account will keep filling up. And anytime it doesn't, you will know, because you're bringing it, that there is something deeper to heal within yourself that is pushing away greater success and reach. And that's just real. But you'll also have the self-mastery practices to go within yourself and see whatever is showing up in the field outside of you as a mirror to go deeper within. Okay? One of the reasons why we are so excited about teaching and leading, it's because it is the most accelerated path for your personal growth. You want to move out of codependency, you want to move out of the weird anxieties and fears that aren't really your true self. You just make a commitment to keep leading and teaching, and eventually you're going to discover all the weird that's keeping you back from the love. Like, that's just real. You know? It's just what's going to happen. Because you can't interface with that many people over time and not see where your weird is. And if you see your weird long enough, you're gonna either like give into the weird and let it get weirder, or you're gonna be like, oh, all right, I just can't function like this anymore. I'm gonna get the help I need so that I can be an even more effective leader, teacher, healer, guide. You know, it's called taking responsibility, which, by the way, is another facet of spiritual maturity. It's like teaching is about spiritual maturity. Teaching is about showing up whether you feel like it or not. We talk a lot about this in the Sophia Code Mystery School. Oh my God, we talk so much about it. It's just like, I don't care what happens before it's showtime. You're still going to show up to showtime. You know, it's like, you got a stage to show up, you get on that stage. You got a class to run, you get to that class, unless you got to be in the emergency room. It's just like, that's spiritual maturity. And that's how you're afraid to get behind a Zoom camera or turn on a microphone. It's just like, you just show up and keep practicing no matter how uncomfortable it feels. I share with my students the first curriculum that I channeled, the Stargate 1 curriculum. I would like freak out for hours before class. I'd get on class, I get off of class, and I'd put on these really big punching gloves, and I would just knock myself out round after round for a week after teaching that class. I would be such a hot mess. I had so many insecurities about how I looked, how I spoke, if it was good enough. Like, I was so programmed into perfectionism that I had to literally arm wrestle myself to show up to being seen as a guide publicly for a few years in a really big way. It was so hard for me. But that is how I'm sitting here now, feeling so comfortable with myself. You think this happens overnight? This happens because of, showing up again and again and again. I didn't want to, but I knew that was my role. That was my purpose. That was the gift that I was here to give, was to expand my consciousness and share my consciousness as a container for others to come and explore their consciousness. So, what's one of the main ingredients for others to feel as though they can expand in their consciousness when they come to play with your consciousness? One of the most important things that you offer as a teacher, a leader, a healer, or a guide to others in sacred space is, do you feel safe with yourself? Do you feel as though you've got you? Do you know how to hold your own heart? Do you know how to speak kindly with yourself? Do you know how to talk yourself off your own cliff? Do you know how to encourage and inspire yourself when you want to give up on yourself? Do you know how to catch yourself when you're speaking very negatively to yourself and counterbalance those negative thoughts with something like, I love you, I'm sorry you feel this way about yourself, I believe in you, people keep showing up to your classes, so it's probably pretty good chance that you should still be teaching? Do you know how to speak to yourself in this way? Do you know how to accept yourself in this way, even as outdated thoughts or belief systems are still kind of time looping over you? If you know how to be with these feelings and these anxieties and be kind to yourself, everyone in that room is going to know that they're safe to be with their own feelings, to be with their own inner process through every yoga pose. If you are faking it and telling them to be vulnerable when you are not being vulnerable to you, every person in that room is going to know you're a liar. And they're going to be thinking you're a liar while they're going through your crappy yoga poses. They'll be like, this isn't fair. They're making me do these yoga poses, and I don't believe that they're really doing their own inner work. They're all talk and they're no show. Even if you're teaching a yoga class, people are going to know if you're not really authentically loving yourself. They don't care if you can do all the poses that you're asking them to do. It'd be cool if you showed them that you can struggle in certain poses too. What they really care about is, are you inside your yoga practice with your own heart? That's what they care about. If you're in the yoga practice with your own heart, they will follow you to the moon. They'll be like, how many down dogs to the moon? How many up dogs to the moon? I'm going there with you. They'll follow you anywhere. So I know a lot of you like Krishna Das, right? I love Krishna Das. I found out about Krishna Das from David's yoga classes when he would play Krishna Das songs, and I would melt into 1,000 tears and just be like, Krishna Das, you're the best. It's just after a hard yoga practice, and then David flips on the Krishna Das, and I'm just like, oh, with my heart, okay, fine. And one of my favorite moments of Krishna Das being interviewed, well, actually, I think it was somebody talking about Krishna Das. That's what it was. There was a documentary made about Krishna Das, who, for those of you who are like, who the heck is Krishna Das? He's this amazing kirtan singer. It was part of the freedom movement in the 60s, and Maharaji, and bless you, Krishna Das. And so they did this beautiful documentary on him. And I think it might have actually been Ram Dass that was talking about Krishna Das. Whoever it was, they were saying, the reason why, Krishna Das has got a great voice, but the reason why people are spellbound when they sing with Krishna Das is because Krishna Das is not singing to you. Krishna Das is in a conversation with God. When he is singing, he is in a dialogue with God. And when you watch him perform, he is not performing for you. He's like half his butt's hanging out of his jeans. He's wearing some flannel that's like not even buttoned right. Like, I love the guy. To me, that's like the best thing about him getting on stage. I'm just like, this guy is so inside his relationship with who he is singing to, which is to God. And whatever he's feeling in that moment, whether it's blissful or crappy, he's clearly talking to God in front of me. And that's what's happening for you when you teach your class. It's like, maybe you look the best you've ever looked that day. Maybe you look like Krishna Das on one of his not so most presentable days on stage. Whatever. It doesn't matter. Are you in a conversation with your heart? If you are, you're gonna be guided to a yoga flow. You're gonna be guided to a class outline that might be more spontaneous than you planned before the class even started. And guess what? That's the divinely orchestrated creative genius of your own divinity and communion with the divinity of all that is pouring through you. And guess what? Because you're in a conversation with your heart, you have the confidence to follow that divine thread. Just as Krishna Das is following the divine thread as he's sitting on a stage in front of thousands of people, and he's just like, I'm inside this thread, guys. Wherever the thread goes, I'm going. And everybody's like, please keep following the thread. I just want you to follow the thread. It's like, that's what people are going to keep saying to you. That's what I said to David every time I finished a class. I just try to figure out another way to say thank you. Thank you for once again, like bringing me to the edges of my reality, my inner reality. I hated it and I loved it. Bless you. Thank you. Bye. See you tomorrow. Thanks for bringing up all my shit and showing me all my potential all at once, because that's what he was really curious about in his own heart while he's teaching a class. And I always knew it was real. I always knew David was never asking me to do anything he wasn't willing to do himself. That's why I kept showing up to his class the most. And he played really good music. So just understand that the consciousness of your heart and communion with the consciousness of your source is going to guide your most authentic, relevant teachings. You're not teaching by yourself. You're actually standing in the presence of ancient masters who, by the way, are very, very loyal to these lineages. I invite everyone to read Autobiography of a Yogi. Very, very important book for your journey as a yoga teacher. Whether you ever practice Kriya Yoga or not, it's not about the lineage of yoga. It's about you understanding just how protected, just how precious the diamond vehicle of a yoga practice is for the awakening of human consciousness, and that these masters who dedicated their entire life, and by the way, many, many reincarnations, to protect these lineages across space and time, to ensure that we would have yoga lineages during atomic ages when at a moment's notice, this whole planet could be blown up. It's like, we still have yoga. We still have yoga after thousands of years. It's one of the greatest gifts you can give anyone. Not just for the physical health of their body, and yay, physical health of the body, for the health of their wholeness, their whole beingness. Yoga over time, in the presence of these masters that watch over those who practice yoga, by the way, who are very loyal to those who have a practice of yoga. Over time, the outer practice becomes the inner practice. The outer practice may fall away for periods of time because you've integrated the inner practice so deeply, you're frickin' in down dog and up dog all day long. It's just like answering an email, up dog. Oh man, going on Facebook Live, down dog. Okay. Teaching that next class, just like pigeon pose for like 2 hours. It's just like, it becomes so integrated within you. I practiced very regularly for 10 years. It just became a part of me. And now it's just like, it's a part of my outer practice, but it's so a part of my inner practice. It's very interchangeable with all the other things that I do for my physical practice, because you have to have a physical practice if you're teaching and leading. I work with a personal trainer freaking 6 days a week. Like, I wouldn't survive the pressures of my life without a physical practice. But the yoga practice is very special. It's very special because not only is it grooming your body for leadership, it's grooming your soul. And it's connecting you to the masters that were also groomed for that kind of spiritual leadership by their masters and their masters before them. So what happens when we connect into these ancient masters, such as Mahavatar Babaji, or our most recent ascended master, such as Yogananda Paramahansa? What happens is we are connecting to an example of our highest potential. What happens is we are connecting to those souls that knows what it takes to overcome the odds of this physical world. Not by leaving this world, by being full game on present within this world. Many people think about ascension or like the spiritual heights of what you can achieve in a lifetime by leaving your body. Oh, when I leave my body, I get to go to heaven. Well, I've had too many near-death experiences to count, and I can tell you, heaven is a little more complicated than just dying and going to some blissful place. You are eternal. Eternal means eternal. It's hard for our human mind to conceive that. Your yoga practice in this lifetime is connecting you to the eternal nature of your soul that goes on forever and ever across space and time. It connects you to the billions upon billions upon billions. Mind you, billions is like a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of how many gajillion souls that exist in this universe. And you are connected to them in an ocean of consciousness. Your soul's work in this lifetime is but half a bitty fingernail of what you're doing up in reality right now. But it's really freaking important. Because when you come into facilitating a sacred space, when you come into not just creating the space for others' yoga practice, but your own yoga practice, you are connecting to just how vast you are and that everything you do in this world counts. So you better really make it count. Yoga brings a presence to just how much presence we can bring to everything that we're doing, especially teaching. Yoga, the practice of yoga, both the interior yoga and the external yoga, teaches us how to be fearlessly creative because we are terrified of our sovereign creatorhood. You know, this guy would rather have sat under a tree in India and never come talk to weird Americans. Bless his heart. He was super happy in his spiritually mature India where everybody knew how to pray, meditate, and like freaking levitate. I mean, he came from a lineage. If you read Autobiography of a Yogi, like Jesus wasn't the only one who physically ascended. All right. Like this guy, those were his friends. And then he came to the US where everybody wanted to say horrible things about him, string him up in trees in the deep South. Like, you know, he built a legacy of love for us. He bridged our consciousness, our spiritually immature consciousness with a very spiritually mature lineage of masters in India. When I was practicing with David 20 years ago, I remember, now for those of you who are new to me, if you hadn't gotten it yet, I was born psychic. I was born psychically open. So my journey has been that I've been being trained by these masters and by these angels since childhood. And it's why I survived many, many atrocities in the first half of my life, like pretty much 18 years of atrocities. And so when I came to David's practice, I was a very broken person, putting the pieces of my heart back together in these yoga classes. My life was fraught with addiction. I was a chain smoker. I'd come home from work, throw back a couple of vodkas. And, you know, by the time I came to David's class, you know, I was trying to numb out everything that I could see psychically, everything I could feel. I was terrified of what I could see, feel, and hear because a lot of it was very dark, given what I had survived. But what was interesting was that as I came into yoga, which David created an emotionally safe space for me to have these yogic experiences with him because David had a relationship with his own heart. So this consciousness that he was creating in that room was like, hey, I'm talking to my heart while I'm telling you what you can do with your own heart. So now I'm listening to my heart and I'm opening up to really seeing these yogic masters in the room. And just being like, hey, you're not wearing many clothes. You're wearing a little thing around your waist. Who are you again? oh, you're that yogi master, right? Ashtanga. Okay, cool. And just starting to, okay. And then the more I tuned in, then I would see other souls doing yoga in the room with us, not just the students doing the yoga in the room. So now we got the master teachers along with David teaching, along with the souls in the room doing yoga. And then there's all these other souls doing yoga. And I'm like, what the hell is going on? So I start tuning into it. I'm like, oh my God. All the souls across this world doing yoga are all doing yoga at the same time together, whether they know it or not. We are all metaphysically doing yoga together simultaneously. And that, by the way, is not just the souls in the present moment on this physical planet doing yoga. It's all the souls that have ever done yoga. We are in an ocean of a yogic cellular imprint on the collective consciousness of humanity. And we are just riding that wave on that ocean right now as we do one asana after another. Within the resonant field of these masters, who, by the way, are the gatekeepers of that yogic field, of that resonance of that practice, those lineages within that ocean of consciousness. So, my friends, when you choose, as you are now in this yoga teacher training, to step into this birthright that you have been blessed to become a yoga teacher, you are not only standing with these yogi masters that love us so unconditionally that they stay with us across the centuries. They stay with us beyond our own resistances and our own self-sabotage. They stay with us and they guide us to a greater light within us so that we can one day open our eyes, open all of the chakras of our bodies to understand the ocean of consciousness that we exist in all of the time. That there is an enlightened field of consciousness where so many people at different levels of understanding that ocean of enlightenment, that ocean of consciousness are abiding in within you. And when you open the door for facilitating sacred space, whether it's for a yoga class or otherwise, you are opening the door to that ocean of bliss. You are opening the door to the masters of light who are protecting that ocean of bliss, that are initiating your consciousness into greater and greater awareness. Just how lucky you are, just how blessed we all are to be a part of something so much bigger than just our itty bitty little selves, which is very, very important, but it's not the everything. The everything is the everything. And yoga is the practice of learning how to become consciously present to the everything, both within you and within all that is. And to help others do the same thing, no matter what happened at their job or in their marriage or with their kids, or if their car broke down and they had to walk to yoga class. It's just like, wow. So the car broke down, but you still showed up to yoga, which is the same thing to say is, whoa, you got a flat tire, but you still showed up to the everything.
I think it would be fun to do some questions and answers. Are you up for it?
Oh, I love questions and answer time. It's so much fun. Our ego structure wants to take so much credit for what's going to happen in that classroom experience. But our most powerful offering comes when we listen to that consciousness in that communion with our heart, and we follow what that consciousness wants to do. And that can really bring us to an interesting edge of vulnerability, but it's where our most powerful teaching moments happen. So I just want to share a little bit more about that. All right, I see something coming in.
So we've got a question from Megan, and she wants to know, can you tell us more about psychic development training and how it relates to a yoga practice?
Okay, so what naturally happens in yoga is you open over time, well, really happens in yoga, is the 8 major chakras of your body start to open up from the kundalini that's either titrating or fully released from the base of the spine, which eventually happens through a daily practice. And as that energy is released throughout the body and starts to integrate within the body, your chakras are both doing 2 things. Number 1, you are clearing out the vitrees, the different petals of the load of those different parts of the chakra, the structure of the chakra, from karmic imbalances, addictions, toxicity, emotional toxicities. You're being flushed out while you're simultaneously being downloaded with more of your soul's light. The more of your soul's light that can exist within your body, the more your chakra systems are available to receiving information that is very intuitive in nature. So the words psychic and intuitive are synonymous. And what yoga does is that over time, it brings us into a greater depth of sensitivity, awareness, intuition, which is the same thing as to say presence. We have access to information that we didn't have access to before. When this spiritual practice opens us up, we are able to listen to the voice of our heart, as well as hear the guidance being downloaded to us into our body, into these chakra temples. And each of these chakra temples, which I discuss in my training program, they each have voices. They each have ways of communicating to us information that we need about different decisions we're making, both as leaders and teachers, but also in our daily life.
I have a fantastic one here, and this is one I also have some thoughts around. So this is from Jeannie Wilder. And
Okay.
She says, "Hi, Kai. So honored to be in your majestic company this eve."
Oh gosh, thank you. me too for you. Thank you.
"I'm always at the edge of starting something big, but I feel so comfortable being small. My heart says, go big. It's time. So how do I push myself?"
Well, Jeannie, I just want to assure you that everything you're feeling is normal and everyone experiences it all of the time. I mean, I was having a conversation with my mentor just this week where, he's coaching me on how to expand my platform. And I'm like, I don't want to. So I just want to assure you that no matter, for all the leaders, teachers, and guides out on this video, it's like, no matter how much success you achieve in being seen, there will always be the next level contraction of not wanting to be seen. And what's interesting about that is every time we take even one step towards being seen, we have to integrate what happens when that activating step happens. So what I teach about in my mystery school is that there's periods of activation that must, and I mean must, be followed by periods of integration. So if you activate yourself and bring yourself to the edge of something that's vulnerable, and you explore something new, such as being seen in a different way, or maybe for the first time, what's going to happen is your body, heart, and mind, all levels of your being need to integrate what that experience was like for you. Was it safe? Was it pleasurable? Was it uncomfortable? Was it both? What were the benefits of being seen? What happened when you weren't being seen? Was there a withdrawal? Was there shame? Was there delight? Were there all of those things that happened? And what's the long-term benefit? Even from one experience, it's amazing how much the human heart wants to guide you through this integrative process. Mother Mary talks about this in her chapter, the Sophia Code. The heart doesn't want to be left behind, but the heart also wants you to know that it's your guide. So it's like there's this balance that we're always walking with new experiences where our heart walks us up to an edge, and we can either leap and explore where our heart's guiding us, or we could just run from that completely from our heart. But if we do choose to leap, we don't want to leave our heart behind, because we're going to need that same heart energy consciousness to know where we're going next once we take that leap. So what's happening with being seen? Well, I like to share something. It's funny because when I met David, I was in the process of, a lot of grief and trauma-stricken grief, but I was looking for ways to stay uncomfortably comfortable. Write that one down, because that is something you will always be in a journey with through your leadership. The battle of uncomfortable comfortableness. Here's the thing. You can only down so much vodka and chain smoke for so long before being uncomfortably comfortable is just too damn uncomfortable. All right. And that's a very extreme example, but like, you can only sit on your couch and be hidden in your own closet for so long before you're like, damn, it is dark in this closet and nobody is here and I'm bored. It's just like we often hang out in that comfortable place until it's unbearable. And so when we at the beginning, when we start to explore what it's like to get out of the closet, get off the couch, get out of the house, get onto the video, get into the classroom, get to the studio, it's going to feel like you're betraying the uncomfortable comfortability, right? It's putting the uncomfortable comfortable on notice. Hey, you're about to get fired. I'm about to be, uncomfortably expanded and alive like a lightning bolt. You're asking yourself to step into a completely different reality. And the reason why we're often so terrified of being seen, it really doesn't have anything to do with the outer world. It really has to do with the people in our heads. As my mentor likes to say, when I'm home alone, I'm at home with all of my enemies. And those are all of the enemies inside of him, all of the faces and the voices that, from childhood, from growing up, or different events in your life that we replay on a time loop of woundingness, right? Or we take other people's wounds and we internalize, oh, well, that famous person, they started to be seen, and then, oh, they strung that guy up on a cross, or that didn't go so well for that person having a public life. Look what happened to their marriage. It's just like we start to internalize even what we see outside of ourselves in celebrity culture or iconic culture. All of these are the ploy of the ego structure to keep us from the deliciousness of life. Because the deliciousness of life involves the unknown. It involves X factors, right? If you do a math equation, there's always the X factor. And the X factor of something being really delicious always involves an unknown X factor. Things that could happen that are out of your control. The ego structure wants us to default to all the terrible things that could go wrong if we're being seen. The judgment, the projections, the failure, the whatever, fill in the blank, the not good enough. But your higher self, your own divinity, knows that no matter what happens in anything negative, there's a world of positive outcomes that could cause you to expand and be even more uncomfortable, because there's even more wonderful things to explore about yourself. And that's what's so interesting. It's like we have to make friends with the ego structure. We can't kill the ego. Like in a lot of older practices, kill the ego. What are you going to stab? Where are you going to stab the ego to kill it? You show me a knife or a sword or a firearm that could actually take out an ego structure. It's not freaking possible. It's not going anywhere. It's a part of your human body. It's what keeps your human body alive. It's part of your survival instincts. What happens when you practice yoga long enough, when you open your heart and your mind to the consciousness of the source energy that loves you unconditionally, that gave you a divine consciousness that you can tap into, what you learn is you can make negotiations with the ego structure. You can start to argue for your highest potential. You can start to make some trade-offs. You can start to show your own ego structure in percentage rates. Okay, look, I know you don't want me to be seen. Maybe it has to do with the past life, or they burned me at the stake, or, I lost my whole family because some church or religion came and did this or that. It's just like all of these cellular memories of, or even present life memories where you were seen and then something terrible happened. Well, fair. If the ego structure doesn't want you to do that again, it likes having a body. It means it has a vessel, a vehicle to move around and cruise around and eat food and have, experience this reality. But you're so much bigger than just one facet of your consciousness. And so what you can do through the love of your heart is say like, hey, I get it. You don't want me to be seen. What do you think about like 20% more being seen? What do you think? Give or take, maybe 25. I don't know. And then you tell the ego structure why. And here's what you do. You say, look, there's a part of me that you're a part of, ego structure. I don't know if you know this, but it's a divine part, and it has access to all the abundance of the universe. It has access to heavenly realities. It's got access to all these guides and angels that want to protect you, right? The ego structure wants to know it's safe. The ego structure wants to know it's fed. The ego structure wants to know there's another paycheck coming. And we can downplay that, but that's fair. So you got to tell the ego structure, dude, the more I'm in my highest potential, the more money you're going to make. The more I'm being seen, the more resources and people I'm going to meet, which is going to mean you get more stuff. It's just like, talk to the ego structure the way the ego structure wants to be talked to. Don't try to stab it. You can't. You're never going to find it that way anyways. It's just like, unless, you would have to literally stab yourself in your own heart to get anywhere near it. And you still wouldn't be stabbing it. You just be laughing in your face. The point being is like, you got to make friends with this part of yourself, and you got to talk to it the way it's meant to be talked to. What does it want? It wants a roof over its head. It wants 4 wheels, hopefully like super hot wheels. Like it wants to be in a cool car. It wants nice clothes. It wants to eat really good food. It wants to know it's safe and maybe love, but either way, it doesn't even really care about that. It just wants to know it's going to continue to exist and exist well. It doesn't even really care about luxury. It just wants to know it's going to get to exist well. This is what's interesting about the ego structure. It's just like, just enough. The ego structure wants to keep you at just enough. But if you have a heart to lead and to be seen, to be and leading and teaching, it doesn't mean you have to be like this sole person out there all by yourselves. Like you could be part of a collective. You could be part of a team. Being seen is just about being seen as a resource of support for others. Whatever the dynamic of your leadership looks like, solo or collective or somewhere in between, it's just like what you're asking the ego structure to do is to loosen its grip just a little bit on reality, on your reality, by promising the ego structure, hey, the truth is if I follow this thread of being seen more, you get more stuff. You get like, you're going to be even more safe than when I was contracted in the closet and nobody could see me. And then I wasn't making any money at all. It's just like, that's the interesting negotiation that can happen. If you speak to the ego structure the way it needs to be comforted, and you make a negotiation of like, hey, I get what you want. You don't want this stuff to go away. No problem. I now know from a higher consciousness that the more I'm seen, the more I'm available to receiving the blessings of life. That's only going to take care of you and bring you more stuff, bring you more safety. That's the irony. A lot of people ask me, how are you so brave after everything that you've survived? Speaking up about human trafficking and rape and all sorts of things that are happening in our country and as well as in our world on a global level. And it's like, it's because I'm seen that I'm safe. There are literally 150,000 people have my book, and we're just getting started. Like it's a top bestseller in countries all over the world. It's like every day more and more people see me. And there's part of me that's very uncomfortable with that. But the irony of that is the more people see me, the more people understand the mission of the Sophia Code to activate humanity's sovereign divinity, the more people are activating their sovereign divinity by witnessing my embodiment. And we are creating a collective field of safety for this message to continue to reach as many hearts and minds as possible, including safety for my own heart. It's not about if you think about the energetic resonance of hiding, it's fear-based. If you think about the energetic resonance of being seen, it's based in the self-love that's a strong enough self-love. It's a resonance of love that then can expand upon into more love. Fear can only expand into more fear. Love expands into more love. Whatever the root resonance of a decision is, it's going to create more of itself. So if your desire, if your prayer is to be seen, there's a prayer there for more love. And you can just write that down as a mantra. It's just like, my desire to be seen is a desire to give and receive more love. My desire to be seen is my desire to experience and more safety. It's like, script that into your reality while honoring that the ego structure is going to be loud at many different junctures in your journey of being seen. You can't kill it. You can't spiritualize the ego structure to leave your head. It's not going to happen. What will happen if you take the time is you can have these negotiations of grace. The ego structure is a tyrant that wants to take a vacation. That's the good news. If you're kind enough to the tyrant and you let it know, hey, You've been doing a really good job at protecting me by keeping me uncomfortably comfortable for a really long time. I think you might need a nap. I think you might need a vacation. I think you might want to rest. You look exhausted from controlling me for so long. How would you like to make a deal? Would you like to make a deal? Because I know you like deals, right? And then you just start, what would happen if 30% of me that could bring more money, more opportunities, more healing, more awesomeness for you, they actually, ego structure doesn't care about healing, more money, more clothes, more roofs, more whatever. If we could have more better stuff for you for that, would you let me expand into more of this consciousness that's going to keep you and me safe, by the way? Because you can only keep me safe to a certain level. But this consciousness can keep me safe from everything. When you start to explore the ego structure from that perspective, those fears and anxieties take a back seat in the car. It doesn't mean they've been kicked out of the car, because good luck trying to kick out fear and anxiety out of your car, because it's part of the emotional spectrum of being human. Fear and anxiety is a tool that helps us understand different initiatory processes, different growth patterns in our inner reality. But fear and anxiety can't drive the car. They're not allowed to have their hands on the steering wheel. That needs to be the hands of love. That needs to be the hands of your higher self. Eventually, when your higher self integrates with your adult awareness, your localized human awareness long enough, you become your embodiment of the higher self. That's when people really start to want to come sit with you and be in your classes. So, the journey of being seen is it's a day by day process, and it can bring up your greatest trauma and your greatest wounding, and in that it can bring up your greatest healing and your greatest empowerment. So we can look at the pain, or we could look at the outcome, the gifts of the spirit that arise out of our willingness to be that brave. And we have countless programs in my mystery school where we have many, many resources to support you. So if you'd like to reach out to my team angels to learn more, they can get on the phone with you and share about all of those resources. But thank you so much for your question. And I truly hope that this was a helpful conversation for you, because we want you to be seen. We want to feel your wonderful presence in our presence.
Okay, we have time for two more. This one comes from Karuna, and she says, I have been exploring leading students in forgiveness processes through yoga in order to clear the mind and access the wisdom of the heart. Can you speak to that?
Can I speak to what part of that? Is there a question? It sounds like she's doing great work. What's the question? Yeah, I'm like, what's the question? Awesome.
I think leading students in forgiveness through yoga in order to clear the mind and access the wisdom of the heart. So maybe forgiveness and accessing the wisdom of the heart.
Well, I think if I were to speak about forgiveness, the place that I would want to speak about is, number one, remember, teaching is an embodiment, so you have to be really genuinely authentic with your own personal journey of forgiveness. And when I say that, I am not saying you have to have forgiven everyone and everything that is here to be forgiven to be teaching a forgiveness-centric yoga practice. Quite the opposite, actually. But what you do have to be is present, and that you are in your journey with the energy, the resonance, the how forgiveness is working on you as a medicine in your own life and in your own heart. You have to be in the healing journey of forgiveness to be teaching from an authentic space. Interestingly enough, what happens with that is when you are in an authentic dialogue with the medicine of forgiveness working on your own heart, there's a lot less you have to say about it, because it's working on you and through you. And it literally touches the minds and hearts of others, even without a word. The next thing that I want to share and that a lot of people in the spiritual world don't talk about it like this. And so I'm really grateful for your question. If this is the question, I don't know if it is, but this is what's coming to me intuitively. And it's something that I don't think a lot of people are okay with. And that is that you should never ask people to forgive what they're not ready to forgive. Forgiveness work is not about some kind of forced process. Forgiveness is a journey, and it is not a destination. When and if you arrive to a destination where your heart is clear enough and feels a serenity about what had occurred, where forgiveness was arising in the field to finally be the state of consciousness that you access about that experience, then and only then are you in a true field where you are meeting the face of forgiveness. It's like you're meeting the state, the presence, the embodiment of forgiveness through your willingness to be with yourself through the process of not being ready to forgive. You know, there's a lot of traditional religious contexts that preach, well, you just got to forgive it, you know, just say, I forgive you. And it's just like, fuck you. No, that's not forgiveness. It's not forgiveness. Saying the words does not make the thing. If you want to really offer people an authentic journey of forgiveness, let them just be with what wants to be loved within them, with what wants to be honored within them, what wants to be explored within them. An authentic initiatory journey through grief, through anger, even rage, through the anxiety of what happened, through the healing journey of any trauma that was created. It's just like, it's only then that we really find ourselves in that field that Rumi talked about, the field beyond right and wrong, where we find the presence of divine love. That's where we meet the face of forgiveness. And so much of our modern spiritual context is very much like Amazon. Well, can it be delivered by Sunday morning at 7 a.m.? Like, can I get that forgiveness in this one workshop? Because, I got shit to do. It's just like, no, man, that's not a genuine spiritual journey. So what I love about this process that you're offering, and I don't really know anything about it, but to bring the presencing, the full body presencing of yoga with the intention that these beautiful souls have a prayer, they have an invocation, that they want to meet the face of forgiveness, but that it can be a journey of self-love that includes no destination. Just like, you're going to meet that face of forgiveness and that field beyond right or wrong when you're ready, when you've spent enough time reflecting upon and learning from what was the learning experience of what you have to forgive. What's the spiritual gold that you're getting? Who did you become as a result of that experience? Do you still need time, like really feeling like a victim? Don't judge them for that. Maybe that's an important part of their growth process. It's like everybody's journey of healing is so unique and different. And so as we create the space for an authentic presencing without an expectation or demand of some traditional idea of forgiveness, and we open our minds to what happens in that healing journey, here's what you're going to discover, folks. The journey of forgiving anyone or for anything is the journey of forgiving yourself. And that is going to be, that is for any experience. And I do not say that lightly. For anyone who knows that I've survived, you know that I'm saying that from a very real place. More than having to forgive any person for what they did to me for 18 years, I had to forgive myself. that I chose to incarnate into a lifetime where that was my reality. I had to forgive myself because that felt like the ultimate betrayal of myself. So when you are guiding a journey of forgiveness, ultimately, you are creating a journey for people to come and forgive their own hearts for being alive. Because if you are alive here, you're going to hurt. You're going to experience pain. You're going to experience disappointment. Things are going to go wrong. Things could go really wrong. But from a soul perspective, we understand that it doesn't matter whether it goes right, wrong, or great or bad. It's all learning. And it's spiritual gold, and it's fuel for the fire for our soul. But that human experience, wow, so vulnerable. So it can be so painful. And so the human awareness, the ego structure, it has to go through a journey of forgiving yourself for choosing, having some big idea up in heaven. Oh, that looks so cool. I'll go be a human in 2020 when the whole world is burning down and everything just sucks. And I'm going to learn so much and be so spiritual. That'll just be so cool. And then you get down in 2020, you're like, oh my God, what was I thinking? Or any other year that you're just like, what was I thinking? Why did I think that was so cool? This does not feel cool. This hurts like hell. Like, you got to forgive yourself for that. We can't over spiritualize. We can't spiritually bypass the feelings, and yeah, that's who we're really forgiven, really. And that does not dismiss the very real journey work that people have to go through, forgiving the other, right? That's real too. That's very real too. But when we go through that process, ultimately, what we find in the silence, in that field where we meet the face of forgiveness beyond right or wrong, we discover the ultimate person we're forgiving is ourselves. So I'll say that about that. And thank you, and God bless your work. What wonderful work to being conscious, the conscious forgiveness journey to the practice of yoga. Bless your soul and your heart forever for doing that. Thank you so much.
That was amazing, Kaia. I have one last one, and it sort of ties into coming down to the calamity of this current day and age. And Lindsay asked, what are your recommendations to support our daily practice of staying grounded and present in our physical bodies?
Wow, that's a great question that I could spend 5 hours talking about. But for the sake of just this time together, one of the things that we teach in our mystery school that I channeled for myself, because I was so psychically open, my boundaries had been so blown out by the abuse that I had survived. Walking around in physical reality as a sensitive being who was very in tune was just almost unbearable. And so I had to work with the masters and the angels to identify what was the number one super easy thing that I could do every day. We cast a circle of light around us every day. Cast a circle, visualize a circle of light around your human body every day. And without going into all the teachings that I teach in my mystery school, it's just to boil it down to the very most minimal teaching. It's like only you will exist in that circle. You, your body, your higher self, your own feelings, your own emotions, you exist in a circle of sovereignty. That's you. That's your reality. And you don't have to give away parts of yourself to love others. You need to have all of yourself within yourself in this circle of light. This is what is being created is a psychically safe boundary. Where you're saying, this is where I begin and end. Now, your soul goes on forever. It's not like necessarily like a line in the sand. It doesn't move, but it's a visualization. And then what we do is we invoke an ascended master in the 8 directions around the circle, because in the Sophia code we mentor with ascended masters. That's what this high council promised. They promised that they would bridge the divide between their reality and ours, and that they would work with us every day in our daily practice for embodying our divine light and learning how to master that embodiment. So as you visualize the circle of light around you every day, and you visualize these 8 ascended masters around you, What happens when you surround yourself with beings who are resonating in absolute, whole, perfect rates of sovereignty? You are attuning your body, heart, and mind to resonate in your sovereignty alongside of them. You are surrounded by their technology, which allows you to really clear the field to tune into the spiritual technology of your own body. In the Sophia Code, we share about how there is spiritual technology within your body, such as the divine genome, the golden dragon light body, the angelic wings that can unfurl from the back of your heart chakra. Yoga talks about different spiritual light bodies. This isn't something that's, outside of the context of yoga. The yogic masters, the Tibetan masters would talk about hundreds of different spiritual light bodies that were activated through the practice of yoga. What happened in my journey with these ascended masters, and honestly through a very in-depth yoga practice for years, is I ended up downloading some of these light bodies and were given the permission by the ascended masters to literally you could think about it like a computer code where you do these initiations and you start the process of downloading and integrating these light bodies for yourself, as well as initiating mentor relationships with the ascended masters. What I discovered for myself was that it was only when I consciously invoked these masters of sovereignty and surrounded myself with them every day that I had enough of a boundary to explore my own sovereignty, to believe in it, to have faith in it. And ultimately, it's what you believe without any doubt in your mind that becomes true for you. And so if you believe in your sovereignty and you can feel it within every cell of your body, anything that could distract you, anything that could harm you or psychically attack you, it literally bounces right off that field. It can't exist in the same energetic resonance. Any kind of attack, any kind of lower level energy, any kind of darkness, it literally gets dissolved in the light and fire of your own soul's sovereign divinity. That's what we're talking about for over 300 pages in the Sophia Code. It's why people all over the world literally read it like their Bible every day. They call it their Bible. It's a sacred text. It's a transmission of sovereignty. And that's what humanity is calling out for at this time. It's saying, hey, I feel like every part of me is being stretched and pulled outside of me. Everything I keep looking for comfort is outside of me, and then it's taken away from me. Why do I feel so unstable? Why do I feel so victimized by this world? It's because we have to remember, just as the ancients did, how to walk in the sovereignty of our own body, hearts, and minds, and to learn how to stay faithful to that sovereignty day in and day out. This circle we call it the circle of empowerment. When we invoke it every morning, what happens is you're surrounded by this masters, and then you are invoking your higher self-consciousness to fill your body out to that circle, connect to the center of the earth. And it's so powerful that it sets your frequency for the rest of the day. You're just like, wow, I didn't know I could talk to that person like that. I didn't know I could step outside of codependency like that. I had no idea I could creatively perform like that at work. It's because you're no longer operating from your localized human awareness. You're choosing to literally download your consciousness, your higher self-consciousness, and allow that to operate your system. So that would be a great place for us to explore that in closing of the workshop. What do you think, David?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you so much to everybody who asked questions. We can't get to all of them, but I do feel like some of them will be answered in following up with Kaia's work. So is there some place that people can go to learn more about your offerings?
Yes, thanks for asking. And I agree, they were such great questions. So in the chat feed, one of our team angels is writing my website, which is my first and last name, KaiaRa.com. And so you can learn all things related to our mystery school and our future curriculums. We have so much coming up in 2021 for helping you step fully into your sovereign divinity and teaching and leading from this consciousness. And we are also available to get on the phone with you. We have team angels that can get on the phone with you for a free angel call, talk to you about the different curriculums, the different products that we have. We're happy to help. And we're so grateful to be here with you today. It's been so much fun playing in this consciousness with everyone on today's call. Thank you, David.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
All right, so I think we'll close with a meditation, and I'd like to invite the Ascended Master Mahavatar Babaji, who is of course, considered well, in the words of Paramahansa Yogananda, a yogi Christ master of the highest light, who continues to watch over all masters that are connected to yogic lineages for thousands of years. So really feeling his presence already coming in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lead us in that circle of empowerment so that you can have your own experience with Babaji. Now, I'm going to be invoking different ascended masters that are featured in section 2 of the Sophia Code. If you're like, hey, I'm not connected to that religion, I'm not connected to that spiritual lineage, no worries. It's just an experience. We're not asking you to prescribe to any lineage or religion. Who we meet in the Sophia Code are masters that appear in different time frames on this planet, but the way they are written, the way their words are shared is free of religious context, and it's free of anything that would be traditionally harmful for anyone. So we're going back to their original source teachings through this channeled sacred text. So feel free to just explore and receive whatever gifts you'd like to receive, any blessings you'd like to receive from this meditation. And if something doesn't work for you, feel free to just let it pass. It's just not a problem. We're just exploring in consciousness here. So, welcoming our presence back to the breath. The rising and falling of your heart chakra. The presence within your heart that is your own divinity. An intelligence that comes into this world from beyond this world. And therefore, it is sovereign from this world. You are literally a sovereign divine soul, made in the image and likeness of the source, the creator, creatrix source of all that is. You've been endowed with all of the same divine qualities of divinity. You are whole. There is nothing lacking in your soul. Your soul is a perfect blueprint of divine love, of grace, creative genius. All of the qualities of God exist within you. And you get to be human. This beautiful human body, the rising and falling of your chest with the breath. And at this time, I welcome you to gently visualize a beautiful circle of light. You could pick any color light that you would like. Maybe it could be several different color lights, or it could just be white light. And feeling that beautiful circle of light sweeping around you. It's alive, it's breathing. It's from your own soul. Just take a moment to just breathe into the circumference of the circle. How far out is it from your body? Is it 3 feet? Is it 4 feet? Is it 5 feet? 6 feet? Maybe it's wider. I do suggest for this first meditation, bring it in about 6 feet close to your body. And then just feel the resonance of that circle of light around you. Feel your body. Feel the energy tingling around your skin. And I invite your awareness to now ask any energies that are not your energy to now step outside of your circle. Maybe it's your partners or your children or friends or clients, anyone that's been kind of leaning in a little much on your body, heart, and mind. Ask them to gently and lovingly, just thank you so much. Please step outside my circle. And you may feel like tingles of energy across your back or maybe in your second chakra, just like, oh, I didn't realize you were so up in my biz. Okay, just no problem. Let's just get a little breathing room here. So let's breathe into that refreshing, cleared space. Any ancestors that are a little too close, so let's just all take a little bit of sovereign space so you can feel you inside your circle. Doesn't mean you don't love everybody, just means you need to feel you. You got to love you too. There you go. And I invite you to visualize that there are 8 pillars of light that surround this circle. They match the 8 directions. And in the north, you can kind of imagine it like Star Trek when they beam somebody down. I invite you to invoke the presence of beautiful white buffalo woman to stand in the north on behalf of your life, on behalf of your heart, on behalf of your leadership. And you may feel her holy presence arriving as the prayer, as an answered prayer. You don't have to understand who she is. She knows who you are, and she knows your prayer. She's there to help support your prayer. In the northeast, this beautiful, beautiful figure of light arrives, and her name is Isis. And she has these beautiful Egyptian wings that rise up in honor and protection of your soul. In the east, we welcome She of 1,000 Voices in the Sophia Code, beautiful Hathor. In her radiance, she's arriving to remind you, to mirror for you the radiance of your own soul. In the southeast, we welcome the one known as Green Tara in Tibetan Buddhism. In the Sophia Code, her title is She of 1,000 Stars. And Green Tara steps forward. She is so delighted to be here with you. And she is also attended by an order of Dakinis. In the south, we welcome with her arms wide open and rose petals showering us with her grace, beautiful Mother Mary. Mother Mary arrives in honor of your commitment to be a way shower for others. In the southwest, we welcome Mary Magdalene, who was an exceptional divine feminine leader at her time and also a yogi master, surprisingly enough, along with ascended master Jesus, who learned his healing gifts and skills from his travels in India and Tibet. In the west, we welcome beloved Kuan Yin, master teacher of compassion, and a divine masculine counterpart, Mahavatar Babaji, who are arriving in the west. Finally, in the northwest, we welcome the Holy Seraphim, which is an angelic order that we lovingly call the Sophia Dragons in the Sophia Code. None of this has to make any sense to feel or understand the depth of support, divine love, and acceptance that surrounds you now in grace and gratitude for who you are as a master of light in human form. Notice that these beautiful ascended masters are standing with you, eye to eye and heart to heart. They do not ask you to worship them or pray to them in any way. They are your friends in high places. They love and accept you and feel nothing but an immense gratitude for your willingness to come down to earth and be this brave, to teach, lead, and guide others, just as they did when they walked the earth. I now welcome you to visualize a beautiful waterfall of light. And this waterfall of light is pouring down over your crown chakra. It's this crystalline light. It's like mother's milk, and it's got a rainbow sheen to it. And it begins to flow over the top of your head, and your crown chakra begins to spin open. And this beautiful waterfall of light rolls down the back of your head, opening up the third eye, your third eye chakra on the back of your head, as well as the front of your forehead. You feel your ear chakras being cleansed and cleared for those who have eyes to see and ears to hear. You're tuning into a higher consciousness that is actually your own higher self consciousness. And this beautiful waterfall of light begins to drench every cell of your body, filling your soul, flowing down the front of your heart and down your back, rolling over your shoulders and running down your arms. This beautiful homecoming, this reunion with your soul's light, filling your solar plexus, flowing into your sacral chakra, running down your legs, opening up your root chakra, all the way down to your feet chakra. And this waterfall of light just keeps coming. There's no stopping it. It is you. It is actually who you really are. And as you feel into the fluidity of your soul, the radiant light of your soul, you can feel that your body is actually simply a bodysuit for this eternal light that you are, that's flowing through you into this world as you. You are but a little avatar of this light that your soul is. And this light, this waterfall, as we all know, water wants to keep flowing. It never wants to stop. And this beautiful waterfall of your soul's light flows all the way to the center of the earth. And it connects to the heart of Mother Earth. And you begin to feel your root chakra and your sacral chakra opening up and grounding. It's like dropping an anchor to the center of the earth. And when you anchor into her heart, you're saying, yes, thank you. I accept and I receive my human experience. I am meant to be here. I am choosing to be here. I am choosing to become grounded and centered within this human reality that my soul has chosen for but a moment in my eternity. Feel that loving connection. And I also invite you to feel the presence of Mother Earth's incredible love for you. She's so excited to connect with you today. Feeling her energetic resonance, her light as a waterfall flowing up from her heart to your heart. Noticing how bioenergetic this love is. You love her, she loves you. Game on. Feeling how your legs begin to connect to that beautiful bioenergetic field of your grounded connection to the earth. And now this beautiful waterfall of light is expanding out to the circumference of your circle in every direction. Breathing into that beautiful expansion, you now realize that you are a column of light. Just as all of these ascended masters stand as columns of light around your circle of empowerment, now you're a master. Now you're a column of light. And what's interesting about all of this is that this is what's always happening anyways, but you are in this moment helping your awareness remember just how powerful you always are, just how connected you always are. We're pivoting your awareness back to the truth of your whole reality. And as you feel this light expand all the way to the circumference of your circle, you feel the strength of your soul's light. You feel the invincibility of your soul's light. You feel the sovereignty of your soul's light. You feel the creative genius of your soul's light lighting up every cell of your body, even beyond long-standing anxieties or self-doubts. There's a self-confidence. There's a self-esteem that's being downloaded into your body on every level of your being that comes from a higher place. It comes from that source that never, ever thinks anything differently about you than this. This is who you really are. This is the fabric of who you are. It is a sovereign, divine presence. And I invite you to just, if you're ready, to just be curious and look into the eyes of these masters and angels that surround you now. Maybe say hello, introduce yourself if you've never worked with them before. Hello. Thanks so much for standing with me. So kind of you to show up today. I'm really interested in just learning more about how you're supporting me in my empowerment today. Just being real easy, even casual about it, because we're unraveling a lot of interesting programming as we stand in our sovereignty with these masters. Programming that has nothing to do with them or you. It has to do with previous centuries of religious programming. It is time for us to reclaim that we are all enlightened beings remembering that truth side by side. That's the only way we're going to get anything done in this lifetime with our leadership. It's by accepting who we already are and choosing to operate and function from that place, from that space of divinity and unconditional love and empowerment. And at this time, as promised, I would like to welcome the presence of Mahavatar Babaji, who you can meet in the Sophia code, and you can also meet on an even deeper level as well, in the autobiography of a yogi by Paramahansa Yogananda. Mahavatar Babaji is brought forth in the Sophia Code, where we learn about how he helped Kuan Yin move into her mastery, move into her presence and embodiment as an ascended master because of his incredible tending to her heart after she survived many atrocities. How he guided her, how he led her to the waterfalls of compassion, how he guided her in learning how to heal her own heart, how to step into her own empowerment, how to reclaim her own intuition, how to honor her authentic journey of forgiveness for herself and for others, and then how to take the medicine of everything that she survived and apply it to her ministry. This is the same yogi master that initiated all masters of light on this planet, who are connected to these yogic meditative lineages. He's very kind, and he's very gentle in his masculine embodiment. I invite you to just take this opportunity to feel him activating you with his eyes. His eyes are dark like the sky, but they feel like soft pools of water at night when the moon reflects on them. There's just great magnetism, power, and deep knowing. He is reflecting back to you about the depths of your own soul. The purpose for which your soul sent you to be in this human body in this lifetime. Your great love for yoga, not just in this lifetime, but across so many lifetimes. He's saying that he knows that for many of you, you trained in the caves of the mountainous regions that these lineages are connected to. And so this modern context of being a yoga teacher can feel strange for many of you, because you have cellular memories of when yoga was practiced in other ways, in other contexts. And he's saying, you're very brave to leave the cave, my friend. Very brave indeed. To come down from the mountain to help guide the people back to the cave within their own hearts, where they will discover the yogi master within them. Just as he sent Paramahansa Yogananda to the US, so too has your soul been sent to whatever country or context or community that you are seeking to serve, both locally and globally in this lifetime. Do not let these times dismay or deter your purpose. And he is inviting you to call on him often for the gentle peace that passes all understanding. When your ego structure fights to understand or to control an outcome, he's saying, you can call on me for the support for those negotiations, to be loving and playful and curious of how you can step outside the patterns that would keep you frozen in the past, so that you can live fully present in your leadership and in your personal practice here in this present now. For many of you, the time that you've spent in ancient India, in the caves, or in Tibet, or in different lineages, and even in Egypt, there are people on this call that practice yoga in ancient Egypt. For yoga was spread much further than just the context of India. He's saying it's important to understand that those lifetimes were in training for this lifetime. And that you can call on the cellular memories of the mastery of those lifetimes to inform you and support you and guide you in this lifetime. Hathor is also stepping forward from her Eastern Gate position, and she's blessing your consciousness to understand that it's time to live from a more quantum perspective. The very electrons in your body, as we share in the Sophia code, they're a vehicle for you to access all of your parallel lifetimes that are happening now. You never left the cave. You're still there in the cave, in those trainings, in those ancient schools, even as you train here and now in this lifetime in a modern context, serving people from different perspectives, different bodies that you are inhabiting now than in those other lifetimes. It's all happening now. When you start to understand that your parallel lifetimes are informing this current lifetime, you begin to understand that the totality of you is far more eternal and unlimited than you often give yourself credit for. Think, be curious as to how creative your offering can be as a teacher, as a healer, as a guide in this lifetime, if you are drawing upon the totality of you, not just one facet, one human lifetime of you. What if you were drawing the creative inspiration from all of your lifetimes? How would that shift and deepen what you are offering? Both, not just to others, but also to yourself. Mahavatar Babaji is stepping forward, and if you'd like to receive a blessing over your heart, he's bringing his hand to your heart, and you may feel him as a great white light that approaches you. And you can bring your hands to your heart, or you can keep your hands open in your lap. Either way, it's a good idea to have you have your hands in your lap. Just keep them open, because that's going to allow you to just really let it in. We tend to hold on in the body. Ironically, all of the holding we do in these asanas in yoga is to learn how to let go. So let go. And allow the radiant light of the Master Mahavatar Babaji to bless your heart, body, and mind. To clear some samskaras, any karmic interference that would keep you from knowing that you are safe to be seen in this lifetime, and that many souls are waiting for you to be seen in unexpected and miraculous ways. I'm also witnessing many other masters from Babaji's lineages coming to bless different parts of your body, the back of your heart, your third eye, your feet, your knees. And isn't it just wonderful to be in a resonance of this much support for the truth of your sovereign divinity, for the truth of your heroic human experience, for the truth of your passion to serve others, to help others, to create and facilitate sacred space for others to discover their own connection to this much support. I am witnessing Babaji coming around the back of your body, and he is now activating your Sushumna channel, which is that central Kundalini channel that runs from your root chakra to your crown chakra. And you may also feel the medulla oblongata at the back of your head spiraling open, so that it can be infused with a deeper download of your own higher self consciousness, operating that reptilian portion of your brain from a Christ consciousness perspective, as directed by your higher self in communion with the Ascended Master Mahavatar Babaji. You may also begin to feel this very powerful sapphire and sky blue light running down the entirety of your back, as that liquid gold activation is happening from your root to crown. We're also activating the Ida and Pingala pathways. That's that literally serpentine pathway that pinpoints between each chakra. And for those of you who have been deeply working on clearing a specific chakra temple in earnest dedication to your path as a yoga teacher, Mahavatar Babaji is he's offering a divine intervention of grace at this moment, as directed, of course, by the consciousness of your own higher self, blessing your body to receive this grace now. Just breathing into whatever feels like is being rearranged both within you or all around you, that it's just safe to receive. There's just nothing you have to do in the presence of the Ascended Masters, not in moments like these. It's about letting go and letting the love in. And I'm inviting you in this moment to visualize even better, to listen in your heart and to visualize from what your heart is sharing with you. Where are you going as a teacher over this next year? Where are you going as a guide for others? Where does your heart want to guide you to? Chances are good what may arise might make your heart skip a beat or two. Lean into this beautiful radiant light of Babaji supporting you to say yes. 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 Yes, heart. Yes. Thank you. I accept. I receive the commission that you are offering me as a facilitator of sacred space, as a guide, and as a teacher for others. Yes. Thank you for this mission. Thank you for the growth. And thank you for guiding me and supporting me to show up, even with all of my feelings, to all of the ways that the masters and my own higher self are welcoming me to expand into 2021. Breathing into that expansion. Maybe seeing yourself smiling back at yourself from December of 2021. Maybe you see yourself waving to yourself. Hey, this is how awesome you're going to be. This is how strong. This is how much you got to serve in 2021 because you said yes in 2020. And feel this beautiful heart connection, almost like a golden cord that's running between yourself in this moment in December 2020. That's running as a cord of light to yourself in December 2021. And how that heart connection is literally going to guide you from this day forward to this day in December 2021 in your journey as a facilitator and as a leader. And notice that Babaji has now stepped in front of you and he's blessing that heart connection. And as he does, as directed by your higher self, that heart connection begins to widen. And it widens so much that you start to feel the gap close between yourself in 2021, all of the life experience, all of the spiritual maturity, all of the radiance that you're embodying in December 2021 is starting to merge with yourself right here and right now in December 2020. Boom. Closing that gap so you can feel like, wow, it really is this safe to expand. And it's exciting. And it's going to bring me a lot more happiness, a happiness that comes from within and is not dependent on anybody else or anything. It's the happiness of becoming who I really am. Wow. And finally, I just welcome you to feel that there's the presence of actually countless ascended masters that surround you now, because the high council that has sent to us the Sophia Code as a sacred text includes innumerable masters of light who are exceptional teachers of sovereignty. And they are blessing you. They're blessing every cell of your body. They are praying for you. They are witnessing you. They are uplifting you. They are smiling at you. They are thanking you. And you can feel how Mahavatar Babaji is one of these masters as he's directing your consciousness to consider the legions upon legions of light that protect you and support you in this angelic mission that you're on. Like, this is a mission of the highest order at this time, to be seen as a leader and to help others wake up from the nightmare of our collective dreaming and to choose to dream a sovereign creatorhood dream, not the nightmare anymore. That's who you are. You are on a mission, but you are not alone. And also feel into the incredible network of all the souls in human form that are also leading and teaching and guiding and healing by your side. All the souls in this beautiful cohort of students, this yoga teacher training, all of the souls that have come from the Sophia Code Mystery School, all the souls that you're connected to in your network outside of this context. We're all leading and healing and teaching together in this lifetime, along with the masters in the higher realms, along with all of the souls that have been leading and healing and teaching across all of space and time, because ultimately it's all happening right now. Feel how your heart knows this. And as your heart remembers that resonance goes through every cell of your body as a cellular imprint, that you are not alone. You are literally surrounded by innumerable legions of light that love you, that support you, that are encouraging you, and that are inspired by you. And so with all the grace and gratitude in our heart for the truth of reality, for the truth that this is the truth of reality, not the nightmare of separation, the dream of our unified field, of our sovereign divinity, that collective dream, that is our dream, that is our reality, that is our truth, where we love and accept and encourage and inspire and support one another in our shared expansion. That's our truth. That's our heaven on earth. And in 2021, Mahavatar and all the masters of light are blessing our shared collective mission to ground that heavenly truth both in our physical bodies and in our earthly ministries on every level of our being. And we declare that it is done, it is done, it is done. By the power of three, a perfect Trinity. It is done, and so it is. In closing of this meditation, I would like to honor Babaji by reading a closing quote for our time together. This quote is actually what opens up the entire codex. The interesting thing about this quote is that within this quote, all of the teachings of the Sophia Code exist within this paragraph. So this would be kind of akin to what a Zen koan would be. And it comes to us from Babaji and Jesus, who spoke side by side. When I typed this quote, the only thing I could move was my fingers, because the way their presence came in was so overwhelming to my consciousness that I could do nothing but pay attention to every word they asked me to write down. And this quote is called "The Way." The way is the sacred, heroic human journey in which you are the unknown path ahead. You are the inquiring practices of self-realization, and you are the final destination from which you have never left. The way is a pilgrimage through form to remember that the Holy One, the living Master of Light, the ever innocent one, abides within you as your true self, regardless of all phenomena and circumstances. It is a journey taken in the worlds of form to integrate every emotion and human experience that is necessary for you to one day stand before the throne of your I Am presence and pronounce yourself worthy of the immaculate divine love that you have always been and always will be eternally. Thank you so much, everyone. This has been such a wonderful time to spend together. Thanks for spending time with the Ascended Masters with me and sharing this sacred space, exploring the ocean of consciousness that we are together as a unified field. Please know that these Ascended Masters go with you as we close this meditation. Please know that you can continue to learn more about them in the Sophia Code, and that your yoga practice was going to open you up to an extraordinarily large reality that's much bigger than just our human reality, that includes lots of beings that are not in human form, and they love you just as much as we love you. So thank you, David, so much for this opportunity to share sacred space with you. I just can't thank you enough. It's been such an honor to be able to get to come back full circle almost 20 years later and get to share sacred space with you in this way. Just thank you so much.
Total pleasure. What a complete gift. I feel the same. This like coming back around to see you is like lit up my life. And thank you. Thank you.
You're so welcome. Thanks, everyone. Have a blessed day or morning or evening, wherever you are in the world. It's been a real joy. We'll see y'all next time.